everybody. This is Joni from Paperback Exchange Bookstore, 6412 Ridge Road in lovely Port Richey, Florida. And today we have the honor of being able to interview one of our local authors, newly local to us, just moved into the Tampa Bay area here in 2019. But we would like to invite Mr. T.L. Goss here with us. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Goss.
Thank you for having me.
So welcome to Tampa Bay. You've only been here for a few years. Is this your retirement home?
It's your retirement home. I worked 45 years and finally got a chance to retire.
Wow, what did you do for 5 years?
45 years since I was 15 years old.
What did you do for the majority of that? Lots of different things, or did you stick with one thing?
I had a military career, so I retired from the military, and then was a service for 10 years. So,
well, thank you very much for your service. And we have two books here by Mr. Goss. We have an older one and a newer one. Let's talk about this. Let's see, which one? This one's the older one, right?
That one was from 2014, I believe.
This is the autobiography of Tita Barnes.
Yeah.
And let's read the back of it here. If someone you thought you knew well turned out to be a notorious killer and wanted you to help them tell the world about his exploits, would you stand beside him or would you try to reform him? So so this was back in 2012, 2014. Was this the first book you've ever written?
Actually, to tell you the truth, I wrote the other one first.
Oh, did you? This one?
I wrote that one first.
So this is the 2012 and this
one
from 2021.
And then I wrote Tita Barnes, and then I rewrote that one because the first time, the Soul Singer, because the first time I wrote it, I didn't know a whole lot about what I was doing.
That's why this one says third edition on it, right?
That's why it's the third edition.
All right, and there's some first and second editions floating around out there in the world.
I hope not.
So this one, the Soul Singer, third edition, Noah Gladney, I'm sorry, wants to sing. He has the talent and the material, but along the way, he will need strength of character, perseverance, empathy, and endurance to navigate his journey to the realization of his dream. So what are we talking? Are we talking, this is about a person that wants to become a famous soul singer?
Yes, he does, but he runs into some problems. We all have these grandiose ideas about what we'd like to do as an ideal career. And his was to be a popular soul singer. And he had no idea how complicated that whole situation could be. Some of the characters he's going to run into, some of the people who he would expect to be on his side may not be. And then he would get help from unlikely people. So the whole journey is just not what he expected. And I don't want to say what happens, but it's a rocky road. I'll say that much.
So he runs into some unusual characters along the way, people that help him out and people that think he can get help from, but he doesn't. Is that any type of a career that you were looking for as far as above and beyond the military? What is your experience with the music industry?
Well, I actually wanted to be a songwriter, and that's why I wound up writing about a singer. I wrote about 50 songs in the 80s, back in the 80s, and that was the first thing I ever tried to write. And I think it helps me a lot in trying to, when I'm writing novels, having that experience of because all of that has to flow. It has to have a certain rhythm, of course, to it. And, hopefully I can write that way too when I write a novel. But I wanted to be a songwriter. I never wanted to sing them. I just wanted to write them. And then moved to California and did the whole thing. I took a shot at it. And I thought it was too risky. I mean, you work too hard for your material. And I didn't ever meet anybody I really trusted with my hard work. So
some of the characters in this book might be some of the people that you ran into.
Yeah, not exactly. They're not real people, but I don't, they may have some of their personality traits, It's an interesting business. And I think that's the main thing Noah finds out in the story is it's more of a business than anything else. We see all the glamour side of it, and we see the videos and And we know that the superstars are driving the big fancy cars, but we have no idea. And so when I learned about it, I said, you know what? There are people who are going to pursue this who might want to have some of this information. And it's not negative at all. It's just honest, I think, you know. And the people who have read it told me they enjoyed it, but I always have to wonder if they didn't, would they tell me that too, you know. But yeah, I got some good feedback from it. There's some information in there.
So you got some other feedback, or did you make the choice to rewrite it yourself, or was that driven by any of the feedback that you got?
I didn't know how badly it was written until after I finished with the autobiography of Tita Barnes. And it was so much better than the effort I had made for with the Soul Singer. So I realized that during the process of writing and rewriting the Soul Singer, I learned a lot that I was able to use in the autobiography of Tita Barnes. And then once I knew how a novel is supposed to sound and how it's, you know, what's involved with it, I was able to take that back and really do a much better job with Soul Singer in the third edition.
So what I've heard from other authors as well is whatever story you write, you better really like it, because you're going to rewrite it about 8 or 9 times at least before it's all said and done. What caused you to really go back, you know, after since 2012 to rewrite it, other than, I mean, it was just your personal choice?
Yeah, it was
differently.
What really made me go back and redo it is that I thought it was a good story. I thought it was a really good, well-conceived story, you know, and that I didn't do it justice. It's almost like, so I believe the stories are out there. It's just a matter of whether or not you can write them. You might not be the one to write.
Not unlike a song that you've written and it gets out there and somebody tweaks it around a little bit. It's not your baby anymore, right?
Right, that's right. Once you grow up a little bit, you know, I've heard people describe it as taking the training wheels off. You know, that's pretty accurate too. Once you fool around with it for a while, you start, you know, you get a better understanding of what's required of you. At least I did, and it made me wanted to go back and reapply that, because I know that wasn't my best effort, and I'm going to be handing the book to people knowing it's not my best effort. I just couldn't do it.
Right. Yeah, you got to make it right with yourself first, right?
Right.
Out to the real world.
Yeah.
So now that I've got these backwards, let's talk about this one, the autobiography of Tita Barnes.
Yeah, actually, my second novel. It was now that is a story. You know, I actually have a short description for that one. That sounds a little pretentious, I guess. But
yeah, what is it?
It's a story about a story that was never written. How about that?
All right. You're giving us a little bit of like what's happening. So, you're giving us a little bit of the plot.
One of the things.
Yeah, I mean, so true crime, that's a big deal these days, right? People are.
It is, and
people get addicted to it and actually die, like Michelle McNamara, right? She wrote "I'll Be Gone in the Dark," and it was a true story though about a serial killer. They ended up catching him, but she got so caught up in it that she ended up passing away in the middle. She was doing drugs, you know, to keep herself awake and to make herself sleep.
Yeah.
And got obsessed. Does this touch in any of that? How people can kind of get obsessed with this stuff?
Actually, glad you mentioned that, because it takes you. The story was taking me into an area that I'm unfamiliar with, of course, because I'm not a murderer. But I mean, you have to dwell in there longer than you want to, longer than maybe is healthy for you. And you know, it doesn't surprise me that she would use some method to try to keep her there, because you do have to keep revisiting it until you finish with the story, I guess. And then it stayed with me a little while after I was done. But yeah, it's a creepy world in a sense, but at the same time, what I'm trying to do with that story is drag some ordinary people into it with this guy, and maybe see if they can drag him back out of it, since they're old friends of his and they have a history. And but you know, there's a battle going on there, and you know, I think it's that one I got a lot of good feedback from, and I've had it actually reviewed. I haven't had a chance to get the third edition of Soul Singer reviewed yet, but that one I got plenty of reviews, and it's all I got some real positive feedback from autobiography of Keita Barnes, but it does take you to a dark place. And if you forget that you're a writer, which is easy to do, one of the number one rules, I think, is to stay out of the story. And I had a difficult time doing that because I feel a certain way about people who act and do some of the acts that he's done in the story. So it's a little easier said than done, but I was very proud of it when I finished, because I was like, okay, I can stop now and my life can go back to normal and I can stop thinking about all these creepy things. But I don't get too gory with it.
Yeah, other folks that they have podcasts, they've written books, they've tried to help solve cold cases before. And yeah, they've had a real tough time like you said, getting out of that. Once they immerse themselves in that world, it almost becomes easier to accept all that stuff than try to fight it,
Yeah.
Very, very...
Might be another reason why I jumped back to the soul singer, because it's such a different story.
Kind of shake off all of that negativity.
Yeah, that helped me get rid of some of it too.
So we have let me do some share screens here. You have got your books up on, of course, Amazon. We've got a little bio there. Amazon does a nice job of putting the bios in for you. You've got both of your books there, and you've got, like you said, you've got some reviews. Maybe we can get some folks to read The Soul Singer.
Yeah, I'm working on that right now.
Reviews there. We've also have you available here on our .com, which is pbx-books.com. We have signed copies. Did you sign these copies? I'm not sure if you did or not. But if not, you can definitely reach out to TL GOSS here if you're in the area and have to meet up with them and talk about his book and get him to sign it for you. What else do we have here? And we have your .com, which is tlgoss.com, generated by my books. Both your books there. And then a little bit of bio about yourself. So the normal stuff. There you are, right on the bay.
Yeah, right on the bay. You recognize it, huh?
So where did you move in from?
I moved in from Illinois. I did a civil service job for almost 10 years in Illinois. I was a rehabilitation case coordinator for.
So you're not dealing with the lake effect anymore, but you're dealing with the heat index, right? Feels like temperatures.
Yeah, I mean, so there was, I didn't want it. It was one of those things where I was actually got stuck in Tampa 10 years before I moved here. And I had to stay about 3 days, I think it was. And I looked around and the first thing I said to myself was, okay, I'm moving here one day. And I just couldn't get it out of my head. Everything I did when I went back to Illinois was geared toward coming back here. And I didn't know how long it was going to take. It took me 10 years, but I knew I was coming back. I just love the place. I don't complain about the weather. I don't care if it's extreme or whatever. I accept everything that comes with it because I like living here. This is where I want to be.
It's a gorgeous spot.
Yeah.
A lot of people are flocking to this area. So
yeah, I heard about it.
You got in when you did.
Yeah. Don't blame them at all.
What's down the line? You've got these two books that are out. You've rewritten this one a couple of times. Are you working on anything right now?
Not right now, because I just 2 months ago, finished with the 3rd edition of the Soul Singer. So I'm kind of taking a few deep breaths right now. And, I get ideas that pop in and out of my head, but I haven't settled on anything quite yet. But I will, because that was the whole idea of retiring. Now I can sit down and concentrate on it. I had to write the original ones, while I was working, 40, 50 hours a week. And so I was trying to squeeze it in whenever I could. But now that I'm fully retired, I can go ahead and just tackle the whole thing. It's probably what's got me so anxious about it, because I got all the time in the world to do it. And I don't know how to handle that yet. So
it can be difficult. It can be difficult when you make this plan and it's supposed to last 10 years and it only lasts 3 or 4, right?
Yeah. Well, the whole thing is to try to do this as a profession now, whereas it used to be a hobby. So now I'm requiring myself, now that I know what I'm doing, I'm requiring myself to take it very seriously, and maybe too seriously. Somewhere I haven't found that good spot yet, but I will. That's what I'm working on.
Find your happy medium
Yeah,
with
yeah.
with writing a book once and not having to go back and do it a couple times, right?
Oh, well, you got no. I don't think that happens.
You're
I
not
mean,
a perfectionist in any way or shape or form, are you?
well, yeah. You know
I
what?
hear you.
It's not the easiest thing you ever try to do. I remember someone asked me a long time ago, is it hard to write a good book? Now he asked, is it hard to write a book? I said, well, anybody could write a book, but it's hard to write a good one. I'll tell you that. It's not easy. Um, I've had a lot of physical jobs that were physically demanding, but it was nothing compares to trying to do this according to the grammatical rules and all of this stuff.
That first day you realize this brain stuff can make you just as tired as that physical stuff, right?
Yeah, it's no picnic, I tell you that. But you gotta love it. I do love it. I'm not complaining about it. It's one of those things that it's hard to do, but you really enjoy it, you know. And
There's a huge book fair that St. Pete Times puts on. There's one, I think it's listed for October and November of this year. First part of October, and I think around the 11th or that weekend of November. So
mhm.
you're in good company. There's a huge festival, and there's just a really, really good bunch of people around here. Obviously, we've got over 150 local authors here at our shop. But there's also other bookstores around that are supporting you, local authors too. So you've got a great pool of people. If we can get you guys to come out of the woodwork sometime. but lately, with the pandemic and everything else, it's difficult to get people out together, doing uh, book things. If they're not out eating, we don't want to be out anymore. It seems like.
Well, I did a lot of that in Georgia. They were real big on it. I lived in Georgia for 10 years. And they used to put little dinners together and invite, more famous authors than any of us and to come and speak. And it was pretty nice there for a while. I don't know why. I mean, it wasn't the most enjoyable thing. Uh, so I can understand.
It's hard to plug your own book, isn't it?
It kind of comes with the territory. I felt obligated basically to be there, and but it wasn't punishment either. I enjoyed it.
And obviously you care about what you're selling because you've gone back and rewritten some stuff because you wanted it to be right. So
yeah,
more power to you on that one. There's a lot of people out there that just get done, get the paycheck, and walk away. They never come back and say, "Oh, yeah, it should be better."
yeah. I really enjoy it. I want to do a good job because I think as a reader myself, I was an avid reader from the time when I was like 12 years old. And I'm talking about when people who read 300 or 400 books a year for about half of my lifetime. Um, so I would go into a lot of books and wouldn't be able to finish them, and that's why the number is so high. I didn't read all of them cover to cover. So I promised myself that if I start writing, I got to write something that people are going to read cover to cover, because I know what it feels like to get 20 pages into it and say, well, you know what, this is probably not for me. And I didn't want anybody to do that to me.
Yeah, we struggle with that here at the shop because it doesn't grab my attention, man. I'm just like, I have too many choices.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the whole thing. I want to do it the right way, and I want people to feel like they invested their hard-earned money in a good project. I want people to feel good, and then I want them to read it again in another year or two.
We appreciate that because there's some really good authors in this area, and then there's some that they don't try so hard. Like I said,
I'll come to
just putting out product and taking the check and walking away. So we appreciate your hard work and the effort that you put into creating a great book for everybody.
Mhm.
Well, I think that's about it for you. For you, what I've got as far as questions go. Is there anything else you would like to add? Is there any place around here in the Pasco, Tampa Bay area that you would like to share with people as far as books and authors and things like that?
No, actually, the only thing I've had planned so far is I do want to try, and I don't know, maybe you have some information on this. I want to try to see if I can get maybe some community colleges or something to maybe, make it a part of their creative writing program or something like that. I'm looking into the process of getting that done and seeing what's involved with that.
So you would teach some classes at the community colleges?
Not not necessarily. I mean, I could, but I probably wouldn't. I'm thinking more just if they featured it as one of the reading, put it on a reading list somewhere. But if I can see them both on a reading list at a school that's teaching writing, that would probably be the biggest accomplishment, the biggest thing I could hope to accomplish from that. And that would mean the world to me. So I'm going to look into it, see if I can entice anybody to do that.
Well, I hope you get there.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Again, this is Joni from Paperback Exchange Bookstore. We're talking today with T.L. GOSS. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
And we will be putting this out on Facebook, and you'll also be able to find it up here on YouTube. So thank you for joining us today. And sleep less, read more, and please wash your hands.
All right. Take care, Joni.